Welcome back to our channel USA Coins 69, the place where history, mystery, and money all come together in the fascinating world of coins. Today, we are going to dive deep into one of the most interesting modern coins ever released by the United States Mint, the Washington quarter dollar from the year 2021. Now, when you think of modern coins, you might assume they're common, easy to find, and worth just their face value. But the truth is, even coins minted in recent years can surprise collectors with incredible value if they have the right features, errors, or conditions. And yes, the 2021 Washington quarter is one of those coins that has made headlines in the numismatic world for its surprising rarity and collector demand. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll discover how a simple coin from just a few years ago can be worth a small fortune. Let's begin by looking back at the rich history of the Washington quarter itself. Introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the quarter quickly became an iconic part of American currency. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse features a portrait of George Washington that has been updated over the years but always remains a recognizable tribute to the nation's first president. For decades, the Washington quarter has circulated in the hands of millions, quietly carrying with it a piece of American history. Fast forward to 2021, and this coin becomes more than just another quarter, it marks an important turning point in the quarter series. The 2021 design was actually the final release of the long-running America the Beautiful program, which began in 2010 and celebrated national parks and historic sites across all 50 states, territories, and the District of Columbia. After 11 years of artistic variety, the 2021 Washington quarter closed out this remarkable chapter in U.S. coinage, making it a year that collectors were watching very closely. But what makes the 2021 Washington quarter so special isn't just the history or the design program. It's the fact that certain coins from this year were minted with unusual variations, minting errors, and striking anomalies that have turned them from pocket change into highly desirable collectors' treasures. For example, some quarters from 2021 show doubled dies, where the design appears slightly doubled due to misalignment during minting. Others have off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin wasn't perfectly aligned when struck. Still others may feature die breaks, where cracks in the die leave unique raised lines on the surface of the coin. These quirks make each coin truly one of a kind, and in the numismatic world, uniqueness equals value. Now let's talk about condition. Condition, or grade, is absolutely critical when it comes to the value of modern coins. A 2021 Washington quarter that's been circulated and shows signs of wear might still only be worth 25 cents, but a coin in pristine, uncirculated, or mint state condition is a completely different story. Coins that have never been touched by human hands, showing no scratches, wear, or tarnish, are graded by professionals and given a rating on a scale from 1 to 70. If a 2021 quarter happens to grade near the top of that scale, it can dramatically increase its market value. Collectors around the world are always competing for the finest examples of modern coins, because they know that as time passes, these coins will become harder and harder to find in perfect condition. And here's the exciting part: sometimes it's the coins you least expect, the ones jingling in your change or resting unnoticed in a coin jar at home, that end up being the hidden treasures. Imagine casually checking your spare change and discovering a coin that collectors are willing to pay thousands for. The demand for the 2021 Washington quarter isn't just about errors or condition, it's also about history. It represents a symbolic end of one program and the beginning of a new era in U.S. coinage. That alone has made it a must-have for serious collectors who want to preserve the complete story of America's coins. And as the years go by, this demand only grows stronger, pushing values higher with every auction and private sale. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While many 2021 Washington quarters may only be worth face value, certain rare examples, especially those with unique minting errors and in flawless condition, have shocked the collecting world. In fact, one of these coins has reached an astonishing value of $65,000. Yes, you heard that right. $65,000 for a 2021 Washington quarter dollar. So the next time you get change back at a store or glance at the coins in your wallet, take a closer look. You never know when you might be holding a piece of modern history that could be worth far more than you ever imagined. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the hidden value of the 2021 Washington quarter, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you'll never miss another video about rare and valuable coins. Share this with your friends and family. You might just inspire someone else to go digging through their coin jar for treasure. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic and patriotic coins ever minted by the United States of America, the Washington quarter dollar struck for the nation's bicentennial, celebrating 200 years of American independence. This is the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter, and while most people remember it as a common coin that circulated everywhere, what many don't realize is that some special versions of this quarter can be worth a fortune. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate why this coin exists in the first place. The year 1976 marked the bicentennial of the United States, the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It was a time of national pride, celebration, and remembrance. The U.S. Mint decided to honor this milestone by creating special designs for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. These bicentennial coins weren't just pieces of change, they were symbols of a nation looking back on its roots and celebrating its journey. For the Washington quarter, the design was unlike anything seen before. Instead of the familiar eagle on the reverse, the Mint introduced a special commemorative design featuring a colonial drummer, created by Jack L. Ahr. This drummer boy, standing proud with his drum, became an instant classic and remains one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. Surrounding him are 13 stars, representing the original 13 colonies, and a victory torch that symbolizes freedom. On the obverse, of course, we still see George Washington, reminding us of the very first president who helped lead America to independence. This combination of designs, Washington on the front, and the Revolutionary War drummer boy on the back, created a coin that is instantly recognizable and deeply symbolic. Millions upon millions of these coins were minted for circulation between 1975 and 1976, and many Americans still remember getting these quarters in their change during those years. But here's the twist: not all 1776 to 1976 Washington quarters are created equal, most of them are extremely common. You can still find worn examples floating around in circulation today, and those are worth just 25 cents. However, collectors know that within this huge mintage, there are rare and valuable varieties that are worth tracking down. One of the most famous is the silver bicentennial quarter. While the majority of quarters were struck in copper-nickel clad composition, the Mint also released special 40% silver versions for collectors. These were sold in sets and never intended for wide circulation, which means that today they are much scarcer than the regular clad versions, but the real treasures come from the minting process itself. Some bicentennial quarters feature double die errors, where parts of the design appear double due to a slight misalignment when the die struck the coin. Others have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or unusual variations in the finish, such as proof strikes with frosted devices and mirror-like fields. These small errors and special strikes can take an ordinary coin and elevate it into a rarity worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Condition plays an enormous role as well. A circulated bicentennial quarter with scratches and wear might only be worth face value, but a pristine example graded at the highest levels by a professional grading service can skyrocket in value. Collectors always chase the best of the best, the coins that have survived in flawless, mint state condition. And when you add in unique features like silver composition, rare mint errors, or proof finishes, you get coins that command staggering prices at auction. Another fascinating detail is how these quarters connect people to their own history. For many Americans, the bicentennial coins were more than just money. They were keepsakes, reminders of parades, fireworks, and a moment when the nation came together to celebrate 2 centuries of freedom. Parents gave them to children, collectors set them aside in albums, and millions held onto them as personal mementos. That emotional connection continues to fuel demand today, making the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter one of the most collected modern coins in U.S. history. Now, let's talk about the most jaw-dropping part: the highest values these coins can achieve. While most bicentennial quarters may never be worth more than $1 or $2, rare examples with incredible conditions or special minting errors have shocked the numismatic community with their prices. And yes, the stories are true. There are bicentennial Washington quarters that have sold for absolutely staggering amounts. In fact, one extraordinary specimen of the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter dollar, thanks to its rarity, condition, and collector demand, has reached a value of $185,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $185,000 for a single quarter. So, the next time you come across one of these coins, don't just assume it's pocket change. Take a closer look. Check the composition, the mint mark, the condition, and whether it might have a rare error. You could be holding a tiny piece of history that's worth far more than 25 cents. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the bicentennial Washington quarter and its incredible story, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another chance to discover the hidden treasures of coins. Share this video with your friends and family. You never know who might have a small fortune sitting in an old coin jar at home. Today, we are going to talk about a coin that many of you might overlook when checking your change, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1973. At first glance, the 1973 quarter might look like just another piece of spare change, something you toss into a coin jar without a second thought. After all, quarters have been part of American life for generations, used for parking meters, vending machines, toll booths, and countless everyday transactions. But as with many coins in the numismatic world, the real treasure lies in the details. Some quarters from 1973 are far more than just pocket change. They can be worth incredible amounts of money, depending on rarity, condition, and unique features. Let's begin with the background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design by John Flanagan became a lasting icon of U.S. coinage, showing the bust of Washington on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. By 1973, this design had been in use for over 4 decades, and while millions were minted, not all quarters were created equal. That's where things get very interesting. The 1973 Washington quarter was struck at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its mark: the D mint mark for Denver, the S for San Francisco, and no mint mark at all for coins from Philadelphia. The majority of these coins were struck in copper-nickel clad composition, which had been introduced in 1965 when silver was removed from circulating quarters. That means most 1973 quarters you see are made of a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. But what makes the 1973 quarter stand out for collectors isn't just where it was minted, it's how it was minted, and what condition it has survived in. For example, San Francisco produced proof quarters in 1973, and these are highly desirable for their sharp strikes and mirror-like finishes. Within those proofs, there are 2 types: regular proofs and what are known as cameo or deep cameo proofs, where Washington's portrait looks frosted against the shiny background. Collectors pay a significant premium for deep cameo proofs in perfect condition. Error coins from 1973 are another category that gets collectors excited. Imagine a coin struck off-center, where part of the design is missing, or a double die obverse where the lettering or date looks doubled. There are even examples of quarters struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime blank, making them smaller and lighter than normal. Each of these minting mistakes transforms an ordinary 1973 quarter into a unique collectible with enormous value. Now, let's talk about condition. This is one of the most important factors in determining whether your 1973 quarter is worth 25 cents or thousands of dollars. Coins that circulated heavily will show wear, flattened details, scratches, and nicks from years of use. But coins that were carefully preserved, kept in rolls, or never released into circulation at all can still shine today in pristine condition. When these coins are sent to professional grading services, they receive a grade on the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 for a heavily worn coin to 70 for a perfect mint state example. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A 1973 quarter graded mint state 67 or higher is extremely rare, and collectors will pay astonishing amounts to own one. What's also fascinating about the 1973 Washington quarter is how it connects us to a specific moment in history. Think about it, this coin was minted during the early 1970s, a time of change in America. The Vietnam War was winding down, Watergate was unraveling in Washington, and the nation was preparing for its bicentennial celebration just a few years later in 1976. Coins like the 1973 quarter carry that sense of time, making them not just monetary instruments but also tiny historical artifacts. Collectors often search through pocket change, rolls of coins from banks, or even family coin jars in hopes of finding something special. And while the majority of 1973 quarters you find may not be worth more than face value, the thrill of discovering that rare variety, pristine proof, or error coin is what makes the hobby so exciting. Just think, hidden in plain sight could be a coin that has the power to shock even experienced numismatists with its value. And speaking of value, let's get to the part you've been waiting for. Some 1973 Washington quarters in extraordinary condition, or with rare minting errors, have sold for truly unbelievable amounts of money at auctions. The jaw-dropping reality is that one special 1973 Washington quarter dollar has been valued at an astounding $55,000. Yes, you heard that right, $55,000 for a single quarter. So the next time you get a handful of change at the store, don't just glance at the quarters and toss them aside. Take a closer look. Check the year, inspect the mint mark, study the details. You never know, you could be holding a hidden treasure worth far more than 25 cents. If you found this story as exciting as I did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our future deep dives into the world of rare and valuable coins. And share this video with your friends and family. You might just help someone realize that the change in their pocket could be life-changing. Today, we are going to talk about a coin that has been part of American pockets, cash registers, and coin jars for decades, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1972. At first glance, the 1972 quarter looks like just another everyday coin. After all, quarters are some of the most common pieces of change in circulation. They're used for vending machines, parking meters, toll booths, and all sorts of daily transactions. But as collectors and coin lovers know, appearances can be deceiving. What might seem like an ordinary 25-cent piece could actually be worth thousands, yes, thousands, of dollars under the right conditions. And in one case, a 1972 quarter reached an unbelievable value that will leave you stunned. Let's start with a bit of history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, designed to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Sculptor John Flanagan created the design, which has remained iconic for decades. On the obverse, or front side, you'll see the bust of George Washington facing left, along with the inscriptions, Liberty and, In God We Trust, and, of course, the date at the bottom. On the reverse side, until the Bicentennial redesign of 1976, the design featured a powerful heraldic eagle, wings spread, clutching arrows, and an olive branch, symbolizing both strength and peace. By 1972, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for 40 years. But there was one very big difference compared to its earliest years: composition. From 1932 until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But beginning in 1965, silver was removed from circulating quarters and replaced with a copper-nickel-clad composition, essentially a copper core sandwiched between nickel. That's why most 1972 quarters you see today will have that distinctive copper-colored edge. Now let's dig deeper into why the 1972 Washington quarter can be so valuable. Millions of these coins were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins from that year carry no mint mark, Denver coins have a small D mint mark, and San Francisco coins, mainly proofs, bear the S mark. While the vast majority of these coins are worth only face value, certain examples stand out due to rarity, condition, or minting errors. One of the biggest factors that determine a coin's value is condition. Imagine 2 1972 quarters, one that has been tossed around in pockets for decades, showing heavy wear and scratches, and another that has been carefully preserved, looking almost exactly as it did the day it left the mint. The first coin is just a quarter. The second coin, if graded at a high mint state level by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors pay top dollar for coins that are in pristine condition because they are so rare to find after decades of circulation. Then we have proof coins from San Francisco. These coins were specially struck for collectors, often with a mirror-like surface and sharper details. Within proofs, you also find cameo and deep cameo varieties, where the frosted designs contrast dramatically with the mirrored fields. Deep cameo proof 1972 quarters in perfect condition are extremely desirable and can command impressive prices, but what really excites collectors are error coins. The U.S. Mint, despite its precision, sometimes produces mistakes, and these mistakes can turn into treasures. For the 1972 Washington quarter, there are known double die obverse, where elements of the lettering or the date appear doubled. There are also off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as dime or nickel blanks. Each of these errors creates a unique collectible, making them one-of-a-kind pieces of numismatic history. Beyond the technical aspects, coins like the 1972 quarter carry with them a slice of American history. The early 1970s were a time of transition in the United States. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, the Watergate scandal was just beginning to unfold, and everyday Americans were grappling with inflation and economic change. Holding a coin from 1972 is like holding a small time capsule from that very era, a tangible piece of history that still circulates in our pockets today. Now imagine this: you come across a 1972 quarter in your change. At first, you don't think much of it. But then you take a closer look. The luster is sharp, the details are crisp, and perhaps you even notice a doubling on the lettering or the date. Suddenly, that simple quarter transforms into a treasure that could be worth far more than its face value. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight, and this brings us to the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1972 Washington quarters will remain worth only 25 cents, certain rare examples in the highest grades, or with extraordinary errors, have sold for shocking amounts at auction. In fact, one rare 1972 Washington quarter dollar has been valued at an astonishing $45,000, yes, you heard that right, $45,000 for a single quarter. So, the next time you're handed change at the store or dig through an old coin jar, don't dismiss those quarters from the early 1970s. Take a moment to look closely at the date, the mint mark, and the details. You never know, you could be holding one of the rarest and most valuable treasures in American coinage. Today we're diving into another fascinating piece of U.S. coinage, a coin that millions of Americans have carried in their pockets without ever giving it a second thought, the Washington quarter dollar from the year 1990. Now, on the surface, the 1990 quarter may look like just another ordinary piece of change, the kind of coin you drop into a soda machine, toss in a parking meter, or forget about at the bottom of your car's cup holder. But here's the thing: what looks ordinary at first glance can sometimes hide an extraordinary story. And in the world of numismatics, the 1990 Washington quarter holds surprises that can shock even seasoned collectors. Let's begin by stepping back in time. The Washington quarter first appeared in 1932, designed by sculptor John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. For decades, the design hardly changed, and by 1990, the Washington quarter had already become a staple of everyday American life. The obverse features the familiar bust of Washington facing left, with the word Liberty at the top, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date, 1990, just below the portrait. The reverse still carried the majestic heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, perched upon a bundle of arrows with an olive branch beneath. Above the eagle, United States of America arches proudly, with the denomination quarter dollar below. By the time we reached 1990, the Washington quarter was being struck at multiple mints across the country. Coins were produced at Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with the D mint mark, and San Francisco with the S mint mark for proof coins. Proof coins were specially made for collectors with higher quality strikes and polished dies, giving them that mirror-like shine and frosted details that make them stand out, but the story doesn't stop there. One of the most important changes in the Washington Quarter series was its composition. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. Starting in 1965, silver was removed from circulating quarters, replaced by a copper-nickel clad composition that became standard through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. By 1990, quarters were firmly established as clad coins, copper on the inside, nickel on the outside, giving them that silvery look but without any silver value. So, why would anyone care about a 1990 quarter? The answer lies in two powerful words: condition and rarity. While millions of 1990 quarters were struck, the overwhelming majority went straight into circulation. They were used, spent, tossed around, dropped, and worn down through everyday use. That's why finding one in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state, or MS, is surprisingly difficult. Coins graded MS-66 or higher are truly scarce, and collectors will compete fiercely to own them, and then there are the errors. Every collector knows that error coins are among the most exciting discoveries in numismatics. For 1990 quarters, some of the most valuable errors include double die obverse, where the lettering or date shows doubling, off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin was misaligned in the press, or coin struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime or nickel blank. These rare mistakes transform a common coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. Imagine holding a coin that's the only one of its kind in the world. That's the magic of error coins. Let's not forget about proof and special strikes from San Francisco. The 1990s proof quarters, especially those with deep cameo finishes, can command high prices if graded perfectly. Cameo coins have that beautiful frosted design against a mirror-like field, and when these survive in flawless condition, collectors see them as miniature works of art. Now, here's something many people don't realize. Even though the 1990 Washington quarter doesn't have silver content, it carries enormous historical significance. The early 1990s were a time of great change in the United States. The Cold War was coming to an end, technology was beginning to boom, and the U.S. Mint itself was preparing for the upcoming 50-state quarters program, which would launch in 1999 and completely transform coin collecting in America. The 1990 quarter stands at the edge of that transition, the last years of the classic eagle reverse design before the modern commemoratives took over. Collectors who appreciate history often see coins like the 1990 quarter not only as collectibles but as small pieces of cultural heritage. Each coin, no matter how ordinary it may look, has traveled through countless hands, been part of daily lives, and survived as a witness to history. And now we arrive at the most exciting part: the value. While most 1990 Washington quarters are worth only face value, some have shocked collectors and investors by selling for truly eye-popping amounts. High-grade mint state examples, rare proof deep cameos, or unique error coins have reached staggering prices at auctions. In fact, one particularly rare and pristine 1990 Washington quarter dollar has been valued at an incredible $38,000. Yes, you heard me right. $38,000 for a single quarter. So the next time you're handed change at the grocery store, or you're sorting through an old coin jar at home, take a closer look at those quarters from the 1990s. Pay attention to the year, the mint mark, the details, and the condition. You might just be holding a hidden treasure that most people would spend without a second thought. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1990 Washington quarter dollar, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our future videos about rare and valuable coins. And don't forget to share this with your friends and family, because the next big discovery might be sitting right in their pocket change. Thank you for joining me on this numismatic journey. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and always remember, the next coin you find could change everything.